Greeting panel. I am TanviRahan and my project's name is Product Service, which I did during my internship in Gwynniee Bee, which is a cloth rental based subscription model for online shopping. Now, what is product service? Product, being a product based company, products are centric to Gwynniee Bee's functioning. Why product service was needed is, before product service, the entire data that was created on our website was put into data dumps and then processed by our storefront applications individually. Now, product service was created to act as an interface between the data dumps that are created and the storefront applications. So it populates the database with the products data, and then any application that needs this data directly accesses product services API for the data. Now, the very first requirement was collections. What are collections? Collections are particular products and their grouping so that user can have a better visibility and better convenience. Now, what was had to be done was creation of two new tables in our product database. One is collections, that creates the meta information for collections, and a collection mapping that acts as an interface between the collections and the products and contains the data of what products are there in each of the collections. Now, how will this database be populated? When there is a loader job that will be triggered whenever there is a new dump created by Shopify on our S3 dumps. So this will trigger the load API that I have created on the collections, and it will populate the database with any new or deleted mappings and update the mappings if there is any change. So once the database is ready for its functioning, by this load API we have three get APIs, that either we have to do a bulk get for our collections, or we want to get a single collection for our collections, or we want to get collections for one single product. Now, how this functions is, this is the URL that is created for my layers that I have created in my products API. So whenever this is hit, we get all the collections from the database. If we pass some parameters, then the collections will be fetched according to those parameters. Now, whenever this API is hit, it gets the API, it gets the mappings for every collection and populates the data object correspondingly. If we want to get one single collection, then we pass the collection ID to our API, and it returns the collections and the corresponding mappings to that collection. If we want to get collections for one single product, then we pass the product ID, and internally mappings API is called. It gets all the mappings for the products. It fetches the collection IDs for that product. Then it calls the collections API, and those collection IDs are populated here with their other meta information. Now, how is this used in the storefront? Whenever a user hits a particular collection in the UI, it obviously wants to get products. Now, what is the link here? We call the collections API that gets the collections mappings as shown here. So once we get all the mappings, we have the product ID in those mappings. Now, internally Node.js will again call product services is product API to get the product of that particular ID, and hence populate the UI with the product's data. So this is the collection that I have selected, trendy casual. The request has gone to my API. The products are fetched using the product service. Now, last was creating a load balanced environment for deploying. Now, the very first thing was that I had to create a common upstream file that had both the servers and their names for round robin load balancing. This file was included in my product service in the Nginx configurations. And finally, we have an environment of these sorts. For dev and QA environment, we don't have any load balancing, but for dev production environment, we have a load balancing. There are two servers that I've created. So whenever a request comes of this name, api.gwynniebee.com, it is directed to one of the servers according to the round robin load balancing one by one. So this increases the fault tolerance and availability in future. So these 5 months were aimed at enhancing product service. I also did some code optimizations and testing optimizations to reduce the time it takes for database calls and testing time also. So in these 4 months, I got to learn very different technologies and enhance the backbone of back office, that is the product service.